Proof of Afterlife by Birth, Section 3. The Correct Interpretation of Being Born. Part 1. Birth, conception, and death are the same dimensional change. Proof of afterlife is based on this assumption. Conception and death are the same dimensional change. Evidence makes it so. Our perspective is different with death than it is with birth. During life, we are between birth and death. What this means is, 1. During life, we look back in time at birth. From our perspective in life, we are looking at the output side of dimensional change at birth. 2. During life, we look forward to death. From our perspective during life, we see the input side of dimensional change at death. Here is what we know. 1. The input side of conception is nothing. 2. The output side of conception is life. 3. The input side of death is life. These three things are self-evident. What we need to prove is the output side of death. We do not need to see it to prove what it is. We can prove it because we know, 1. Conception is dimensional change at the beginning of life. 2. Death is the same dimensional change at the end of life. That is all we need to prove afterlife. No other variables are required. Given that conception and death are the same event, there are only 3 possibilities. Part 2. Possibility 1. Birth and death opposing. This arrangement is where birth and death are oriented facing each other. The 2 birth machines are arranged as shown. In this arrangement, this is what happens. 1. Life starts out as nothing on the left. 2. Life undergoes dimensional change by going through conception. It comes out of conception as life. 3. Life undergoes dimensional change again at death, going into the output side of conception. 4. Life comes out as nothing on the right. This arrangement is what we see. Birth and death opposing each other seems plausible because this is what we see. There is physical evidence of death showing life going to nothing. However, just because life appears to go to nothing doesn't mean that it does. We are seeing death from the outside. Death viewed from the inside is completely different. When you turn conception around in an opposing manner like this at death, it is not birth anymore. The problem with this arrangement is conception and death are opposing each other. When you turn conception around at death, it is not the same event. Conception and death are the same. Therefore, this dust-to-dust scenario cannot be true because death is oriented incorrectly. Part 3. Possibility 2. No death or life after death. This arrangement is where there is no dimensional change at death. It looks like this. This is what is happening starting from the left of the diagram. 1. Life starts out as nothing to the left of birth. 2. Life undergoes dimensional change at birth and becomes life. 3. Life goes through death but does not undergo a dimensional change. 4. Life continues on after death. In this arrangement, life just keeps on going, maybe in some other form. Life goes somewhere different physically, such as a dream state, or life reincarnates into another being. The problem with this arrangement is we do not pass through birth at the end of life. There is no dimensional change taking place at the end of life. This cannot possibly be true. We see life going to nothing at death, so there is dimensional change taking place. Life ending is dimensional change. Life continuing on in some other form is not dimensional change. Afterlife arrangements like this cannot be true because there is no dimensional change at the end of life. If this arrangement were true, we would not see life come to an end. Life coming to an end is dimensional change. If life continued in its present form without undergoing dimensional change, we would see it. If life changed position at death, we would see that too. We do not see life continuing on. We see life end. This is why this arrangement of where life continues on after death cannot be true. Part 4, Possibility 3, Rebirth at the end of life. To understand what happens at the end of life, I want to look at life from the perspective of time. The diagram here shows how life begins at a specific moment in time and space and ends at a specific moment in time and space. The line from the point of birth to the point of death represents our journey of life through time and space. These 2 points, the beginning and ending of life, mark the locations within time and space where we are to place our birth machines. We will place one at the beginning of life, conception. We will place a second one, identical to the first, at the end of life. Here is what that looks like. Our dimensional change machine is positioned twice. Once at the point in time and space where life begins, then the same birth machine is positioned again at the point in time and space where life ends. Here is another view of that scenario. From our position during life, we are in between the output of dimensional change at birth and the input of dimensional change at death. This is our life situation. This is what we have. This arrangement shows the birth machine positioned properly at the beginning of life and identically again at the end of life. This is the correct interpretation of being born again. Once you understand this, afterlife fits together beautifully. This concludes Proof of Afterlife by Birth, Section 3. The important points are: 1. There are 3 possibilities at the end of life: birth and death opposing, birth with no death, and birth and death in alignment. 2. Birth and death in alignment is the correct answer because the other 2 possibilities cannot be true. You may now proceed to the conclusion.